Hi guys, Jamie and Sarah here. Today we want to talk to you guys about 5 sacrifices we made in our 20s to be financially independent by 30.
First, before we get started, financial independence has nothing to do with luxury cars or fancy vacations. It really has to do with being able to choose how you spend your time and how you make your money. So for us, that became the point when our passive income would cover all of our expenses, and we did that through real estate. But in this video, we're going to share 5 sacrifices we made, and we hope it inspires you, and rather than thinking thoughts of, well, I could never do that because, start thinking about maybe what you could do to start working towards financial independence.
So the first thing that we sacrificed when we got married was our savings. So before we got married, we had about $14,000 combined in student debt, which we know isn't a huge number. We know a lot of people have a lot more than that, but it is something that we had to work towards.
So about $10,000 of that was mine. So when I first graduated college, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 other guys, and my rent was about $200 a month. So I lived very cheaply, and then I worked 2 jobs. I got a job as a teacher, which is what my degree was in, and then on weekends I would work for a catering company. So within 4 or 5 months, I had about $7,000 of that paid off. And that doesn't include buying a ring for Sarah. So yeah. I worked really hard, lived really cheaply. And then what happened was for our wedding, we got about $3,000 in gift money, which we were super grateful for.
So when we first got married, we sacrificed our savings and paid off that student debt. So we were at 0, but we were also pretty much at 0 in our bank account. So that was a little bit scary. We were living really cheaply in a really tiny little apartment. But we could have used that money for a really luxurious honeymoon or buying new things for our apartment or even just a savings account. But we chose to get that student debt paid off and be at 0. So that was a little bit of a risk and a sacrifice that we made.
So the second thing we sacrificed in our 20s was our time. So as we said, when we first got married, we lived in a tiny apartment. We'd have our day jobs, and when we came home, we worked towards building a wedding photography business. So we'd never done that before. It was always a dream of Sarah's. So we started a website for her and started working on building a client base and all that kind of stuff. But we would come home, and instead of sitting and watching TV, we would work on our wedding business, and it was very exhausting.
So we were kind of working around the clock. So all day we were working at our day jobs, and then we'd come home and we would work our butts off on that, and we'd go to bed around midnight and wake up and do it all over again. So that was a big sacrifice of our time because we could be relaxing or maybe going out with friends more. So by sacrificing that time, we were able to build a business that we both were able to quit our 9-to-5 jobs to do that business full time. So by sacrificing our time, it really paid off in that sense, and we were able to make a lot more money at that business than we were at our 9-to-5s.
So I just wanted to reiterate that we're not sacrificing a bunch of money because we didn't have a bunch of money, but we had time. So we utilized that time to build a business. So then also, because we had our student loans paid off, we were able to save for camera gear and get the equipment we needed for the business as well. So.
True, yeah, because if we were having to pay that student debt every month, we wouldn't have been able to buy our camera gear, which that gear eventually made us a lot more money. We definitely in no way think that you should work a 9-to-5 and then work all day, work all night. That shouldn't be your life forever, but for us, this was probably about a 6-month time frame that we did that. And it was something that helped us be financially independent by 30. I don't think that that's a good way to live forever, but for us, it was short term, and that was something that we chose to sacrifice.
And it allowed us to have a more free schedule later on. So it was absolutely worth sacrificing that temporary discomfort. So the third thing we sacrificed in our 20s was our security. Now, when Sarah was able to quit her job, it was great. She was a full-time wedding photographer. I was still a teacher, and it worked out well because my summers were off when most of our weddings were. But we still had that security of a full-time job and insurance. But the time came when we had to choose, okay, do I want to go full-time also? And that meant leaving a fixed income. It meant leaving insurance, retirement, all that stuff was now up to us. A steady paycheck, yep. So it was a really scary thing, and we took the leap, and we absolutely have no regrets. It allowed me to focus more on the business, and we were able to grow more, and like Sarah said before, able to make more money than we ever could have at our 9-to-5 jobs. So
I think that's an excuse a lot of people make with leaving a 9-to-5 is like, well, what about insurance? How am I going to figure out taxes? All that kind of stuff. And that was something we had to give up and figure out. So that was a sacrifice of sorts. So the fourth thing we sacrificed was our pride. So when it was time to buy our first house, we bought a really gross and dirty fixer-upper, very cheap house. I think a lot of people, when they buy their first home, they think it should be this really beautiful thing that they get to show off to friends and family, and it's really big and nice. But for us, we chose to buy something that wasn't very pretty.
So no one really thought we should buy this house. I don't know how our parents really felt about it. They didn't say much, but our realtor even was like, have you looked at crime rates in this area? All this kind of stuff.
So we chose to buy a house that we could add a lot of value by fixing it up ourselves and working really hard at that. And that really jump-started our real estate investing careers.
So because we saw a diamond in the rough and put that energy and work into that house, in 2 short years, it almost tripled in value. So what we were able to do is get a home equity line of credit and buy our first rental property. And we ended up getting that house for free. We'll link a video below about how we got that house for free exactly, but it really, like Sarah said, jump-started our real estate investing career.
So the fifth thing we sacrificed, and I think the most important, is our comfort. So after we sold that very first fixer-upper, we ended up buying a duplex, where we lived in one unit and rented out the other unit to strangers. So we sacrificed our comfort by giving up our own private home. We now had someone paying for our mortgage, but that meant we had to share walls with them. You know, there's a little bit of discomfort with noise and that kind of thing. A little bit of lack of privacy.
So our mortgage on that duplex was about $925 a month. And the other unit that we rented out for $1,100 a month. So instead of actually having to pay for a mortgage to live somewhere, we were getting paid to live in the duplex. And over the course of about 2 years, we saved about $25,000 by doing that. Not only that, but we were able to also gain a bunch more equity because we bought a fixer-upper again. So that fifth thing of sacrificing comfort, like Sarah said, was by far the biggest thing that affected our ability to reach financial freedom.
So if you were to look at this list and choose anything to try to go after, we definitely recommend house hacking to everyone, which is where you buy a house, you live in part of it, and you rent out the other unit. It's something that anyone can do. They pay for your mortgage. It's kind of a no-brainer to us. And it can really help jumpstart your investing and savings, and just if you're trying to work towards a business, it can just do so much for you and just free you up of that burden of a mortgage.
But it is probably the biggest sacrifice as well as your own comfort. So just a recap of the 5 things we sacrificed our savings, our time, our security, our pride, and our comfort. Because we sacrificed those things in our 20s, what that has allowed us to do is by 30 years old, we've purchased 5 rental properties. And those net us about $4,000 a month in profit. So that's enough to pay for all of our living expenses. No, we don't have enough money to live in Bora Bora forever, but we have enough money to be able to choose how we spend our time and how we make our money. So that's allowed us to pursue YouTube and other just different sources of income that we're really passionate about and enjoy.
So we're sitting in our Airstream right now that we've been renovating for the past 3 months, and the goal is to take this out this winter for a couple months, extended trip with our girls, and that's something we never would have been able to do if we hadn't made those sacrifices in our 20s.
We really are passionate about this topic, and we're going to be making more videos in the future on it, so if you like this kind of content, make sure to give it a like and comment below if you have any questions. It's going to give us some ideas for future videos. And I just want to add again at the end that instead of thinking about maybe why you couldn't do these things in your current situation, think about what you could start doing today to work towards it. We like showing different side hustles on our channel, different ways to make money outside of a 9-to-5 so that you can start working towards getting ahead.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.